Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
There's only three people you can trust in life. Your doctor, your lawyer, and your nana.
I'm not sure.
So join me, Nana Aquare, at 3 p.m. every Saturday and Sunday, where we discuss the biggest topics of the weekend. Be ready for battle. Could you be quiet?
What is this? It's my new teeth.
It's your new teeth.
I don't bite. Well, not without a good reason. Always honest, always fun. Every weekend at 3 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'd much rather hear what you have to say. So, send in your opinions to gbviews@gbnews.com. Keep them clean, and you never know, I might read them out. With my panel here on Jubes & Co, we debate, we get stuck into the issues of the day on a show where all views are welcome, especially yours. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join us every night on GB News at 11 p.m. for Headliners, which is 3 top comedians going through the next day's news stories, which is exactly what you need, because when the establishment has gone crazy, you need some craziness to make sense of it.
Headliners. You don't have to bother reading the newspaper. We've got it covered for you. Every night at 11 p.m. and repeated every morning at 5 a.m. We won't send you to sleep like some of the other paper review shows out there.
So join us 11 p.m. every night on GB News,
the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Who is it? We're here for the show. Welcome to the Dinosaur Hour with me, John Cleese. I was married to a therapist.
And you survived?
I thought we were getting Hugh Laurie.
Second best.
You interviewed Saddam Hussein. What's that like?
I was terrified. I'm playing strip poker with these three.
No, thank you.
My CDs need to be put in alphabetical order.
Are you going to be problematic again?
The Dinosaur Hour. Sundays on GB News.
Good evening, I'm Ray Addison in the GB newsroom. And we start with some breaking news. One person has been killed and 2 others injured after an assailant attacked passers-by in central Paris. Now, the incident took place near the Eiffel Tower. France's Interior Minister is saying that the suspect has been arrested. He was on France's security services watch list and known for psychiatric disorders. The man who died was reportedly a German national, and the weapon he used was a hammer. Members of the public are being asked to avoid the area. This is a breaking story. We'll bring you more as we get it. Now, the UK is set to carry out surveillance flights to help find hostages held by Hamas. The Ministry of Defence says that searches will be carried out using airspace over the eastern Mediterranean, Israel and Gaza. There are currently believed to be more than 130 people remaining in captivity in the Gaza Strip. Hamas says they won't be released until there's a permanent ceasefire. Cumbria police have declared a major incident due to heavy snow. Vehicles have become stuck and they're urging the public only to travel when absolutely necessary. It comes after the Met Office put in place weather warnings for snow and ice for many parts of the UK. That's set to last until midday tomorrow. Forecasters say temperatures could drop to -12 in parts of Scotland. A British soldier killed in Kenya was just days from finishing his tour of the country. Major Kevin McCool was off duty when he died on Wednesday. His father says he was shot while on a motorbike trip. The 32-year-old had served in Europe, the Middle East, the Falklands and Africa. Joseph McCool paid tribute to his son, describing him as special. An 84-year-old man who died following a huge house explosion in Edinburgh has been named locally as James Smith. The blast, which happened in the Baberton area last night, was heard from several miles away. Mr Smith is understood to have been in a neighbouring property. A 43-year-old woman and a 54-year-old man were taken to hospital. Police say there are no suspicious circumstances. And train drivers have been braving the cold today to attend picket lines as they begin a week of industrial action over pay. Commuters across the country face 7 days of travel disruption. No East Midlands trains have been running, and there's a limited service between London and Scotland on LNER. ASLEF members recently voted to continue their walkouts for the next 6 months. This is GB News across the UK on TV, in your car, on digital radio and on your smart speaker by saying play GB News. Now it's time for Headliners.
Thank you, Ray. Hello and welcome to Headliners, your run through the next day's newspapers with 3 top comedians. I'm one of them, I'm Leo Carson. Tonight I'm joined by Cressida Wetton and Nicholas DeSanto. How are you both doing?
Very well, good to be back.
Good.
I'm enjoying all the Christmas trees in the studio. We're festive now.
Yeah, we certainly celebrate it here. Anyway, let's have a look at Sunday's front pages. The Mail on Sunday leads with, "Now Harry is excluded from Society Wedding of the Year." The Sunday Times has, "Rwanda's extra £15 million to seal migration deal." The Observer has, "Israel using Hamas prisoners to track down terror chiefs." The Sunday Express leads with, "Charles, I'll never give up on Harry." The Sunday Mirror has, "Royals unite on race row." And the Daily Star on Sunday has, "The Polar Express." That's the chilly weather we're having. And those were your front pages. And let's have a closer look at those front pages, starting with the Sunday Telegraph, Cressida.
OK, Starmer piles praise on Thatcher to woo right. So suddenly, Keir Starmer, leader of the Labour Party, is celebrating all Margaret Thatcher's wonderful achievements. And he talks about how she effected meaningful change in Britain and she encouraged us to be entrepreneurial. So, yeah, I think he's what's he up to? I mean, this isn't for a Labour person to be saying, is it?
I feel like he's already winning about 6-0, but he wants it to be 20-0. So he's trying to win over all the Tory voters, if there are any left, by saying this. I mean, Nicholas, do you think this could backfire and alienate all the lefties who think Margaret Thatcher is terrible because she brought, she brought entrepreneurship and she brought economic growth to the UK, and we know how much left-wing people...
There are still a lot of lefties who do have... We don't forget a few years ago, after she passed away, people were openly celebrating, and it was quite a divisive moment. Now, if he wants to, make it an even more emphatic victory or not, I don't know. But we do know, as you say, there are different spirits within the Labour camp. There are people who are still unhappy about Margaret Thatcher closing down the mines and whatever she did, her legacy. I don't know. What I find remarkable is that Starmer has accused Tories of betraying their electorate by not managing to control immigration, which is true. But, coming from Labour, it's a bit cheeky because they have betrayed the working class for years, by opening the floodgates of low-skilled immigration.
Yeah, it was Labour's victory in 1997 that first opened the floodgates, and Peter Mandelson has since said that it was a deliberate ploy to rub the right nose in it, and also to bring in people who would vote the sort of correct way, vote for Labour.
Changing our cities beyond recognition.
Yeah, that's not democracy. Like saying, oh, these people aren't voting for us, so we're going to bring in people who do vote for us.
Yeah,
it's literally moving the goalposts of the game, of course.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And Thatcher as well. I mean, the left criticised Thatcher for closing the coal mines. Listen, I'm from a coal mining community. Closing the coal mines was the best thing that ever happened to me.
This is what my dad says. My dad was the first one in a long line of Yorkshire coal miners, and he didn't have to go down the pit, and I'm very pleased he was too.
At a time when the new Argentinian president has repeated territorial claims over the Falklands, maybe remembering Thatcher and her legacy is actually a good move for Britain.
Starmer gearing up to send an aircraft carrier down to the Falklands.
Well, we'll see.
We will see. Moving on, what's on the cover of the Mail on Sunday, Nicholas?
Now, Harry is excluded from High Society Wedding of the Year. So this is a story, again, in the fallout of the royal rift that has been going on, of course, for a few years now. Harry and Meghan are excluded from High Society Wedding of his childhood friend Hugh Grosvenor, but William and Kate are invited in latest sign of royal rift between the two brothers. As it's revealed, groom is Archie's godfather. So this is the wedding of Hugh Grosvenor, the Duke of Westminster. Wedding is scheduled for next June, but interestingly, Hugh Grosvenor was or is the godfather to both Prince George, Prince William's eldest, and Archie, Prince Harry's son.
Yeah, so
and
this is quite a snub.
A common friend.
He's the godfather and then isn't inviting them to the wedding.
It does mean you won't have to hire a suit. You know, it's expensive, isn't it, going to weddings?
They will save on carbon emissions, but
Very good.
I don't think he's ever cared about that.
Well, that's the brand, or part of the brand, isn't it? But the point is, he wanted to actually invite both friends. He's one of those rare common friends of both, who was chosen by both brothers to mentor their kids, and as I said, is godfather to both Prince George and Prince Archie, but didn't want to create an embarrassing situation or overshadowing moment, because obviously King Charles and Camilla will be present as well. And we know all of this is on the back of the new, we can't call them new revelations, but the accusation that the royals who were commenting on the potential color of Prince Archie before his birth, and now in a serialized version of the book Endgame in the Dutch media, and I understand also in Paris Match, publication in France, King Charles and Kate have been named as those two royals who allegedly made those comments. So this has, again, brought up this issue back to the fore.
And is anybody saying that it's racist, apart from Dr. Shola Mos-Shogbamimu? It's like, she seems to be the one person who's like, oh, this is definitely racist. Everybody else is sort of, you know, I think, got over it a bit. It's like, this isn't, it's not racist. Like, they're not saying, they're just asking, you know, what, as you'd ask, you know, what colour hair is it going to have, or what colour eyes? They're asking what colour skin. They're not saying, oh, and one colour is bad, or anything like that.
Well, no, and if they were racist people, you wouldn't have to take one relatively small comment and blow it up and keep talking about it for weeks. And I'm sick and tired of this thing where some things that get said in society are given the most generous interpretation. Well, it could mean something else.
Like the river to the sea chant.
For example, maybe. And then other comments that clearly aren't meant with any viciousness at all are given the least charitable interpretation.
Well, they probably just wanted to know if the baby was going to be white, to find out how much white privilege it was going to have, so they could then punish the baby. Moving on, what have the Sunday Times got in the front cover, Cresta?
Sunday Times, Rwanda's extra £15 million to seal migration deal. So Sunak's agreed to pour more cash into this. Some of it was already going to be paid anyway. They're going to pay it earlier. So an extra $15 million, and that's going to go...
Is this going to go to Supreme Court judges to try and bribe them to...
Extra personnel.
Amen to that, whatever it takes.
It would be a good investment, wouldn't it? We could just get the result. Yeah, exactly.
It will save taxpayers money, which will go into legal aid, because, you know, all those obstacles that these legal aid, these legal studios will throw in is paid by legal aid, so it's taxpayers' money. Yeah, it's insane that we're paying for human rights lawyers. And I use human rights in the widest possible... That's what they call themselves. I call them crooks. But they basically coach asylum seekers, illegal migrants, to game the asylum system, so they know what to say. They can say, I'm gay, or I'm Christian, or I'm gay and Christian, I'm Justin Welby, I used to be
whatever it is. To try and, you know, stay in the country.
Fill in the right part of the form. Yeah, well, a lot of this is about whether or not Rwanda's safe, isn't it? That's what's being argued about. And it doesn't mean safe as we might understand. They're not asking, are the streets safe? Is it OK to live there? They're talking about whether or not the people might get moved on once they're there. Yeah. And that seems to be something that's...
The human right of escaping from a country which is not at war, and then handpick your destination among all European countries based on the benefits that they offer. I used to be an interpreter for some of these potential asylum seekers as they were practicing their interview with the Home Office, right? And the question from the Home Office was like, okay, so you have converted to Christianity. And the answer was, yes, I swear to Holy Quran, I have.
I mean, that's a solid conversion. If he's willing to swear to Allah that he's a Christian, that is, I mean...
that is pretty serious.
That's pretty serious, yeah.
Exactly, solemnly converted.
That's amazing. And moving on, finally, we've got the Daily Star, or the Sunday Star. What have they got in the front cover?
So the boffins are back. The polar excess. The boffins are back. That's an inside joke for headliners, regulars, because usually we have boffins in the fourth headline. So get the thermals We are facing coldest winter for 10 years. Apparently, we should expect temperatures as low as minus 12 degrees. And of course, it's going to be very difficult for a lot of people, especially the elderly people who are struggling to pay the exorbitant energy bills.
Yeah. If only we hadn't had climate change, it would be minus 15.
Yeah.
I mean, it really makes you...
Thank God for that climate change, right? For global warming.
It's the one thing keeping us alive right now. But I mean, this, on a serious point, scientists, or some scientists have posited that climate change, certainly at the stage we're at now, I mean, it could obviously have terrible effects further down the line and in other countries. But where we're at now, climate change is actually saving lives because more people die from cold weather than die from hot weather.
Interesting. Are we supposed to give some balance to that, or that's just a...
It would help if you want to help me keep my job.
Some people don't feel that way, Leo, and they think that the sea is rising. Yeah, no, but it's terrifying, isn't it? Who wants to be freezing? That's awful.
Yeah, and you're living on a boat right now. You've gone back in the boat.
I don't need to know that. Yeah, I'm temporarily boating again. It's been a really relaxing week. Cold weather, awesome. Bring it on. Let's get the fire lit.
At least you won't have to swim to shore in these temperatures. Anyway, that's the front page is done with, but stay with us. In the next section, we're talking about record migration, foreign criminals and NHS disasters. Geez, this could be on GB News. See you in a couple of minutes.
Who is it? We're here for the show. Welcome to the Dinosaur Hour with me, John Cleese. I was married to a therapist.
And you survived?
I thought we were getting Hugh Laurie.
Second best.
You interviewed Saddam Hussein. What's that like?
I was terrified. I'm playing strip poker with these three.
No, thank you.
My CDs need to be put in alphabetical order.
Are you going to be problematic again?
The Dinosaur Hour. Sundays on GB News.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain. Join us, Tom and Emily,
To find out what's happening in the heart of Westminster.
and why it matters to you.
Weekdays from midday, we bring you the most compelling stories from across the United Kingdom.
And from your doorstep to our inbox,
That's right, we want to hear from you,
GB News.
Britain's news channel.
I think the most exciting bit for me is talking to people.
People who I think are ignored often by the major news channels. We're going to give news they want to hear. There's a voice there that needs to be heard. I think there's a chance here for a diversity of opinion to be expressed, which you don't find elsewhere. It's really exciting.
We don't hold back. We're free to say how decisions that are taken here
affect us all around the country. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join us every night on GB News at 11 p.m. for Headliners, which is 3 top comedians going through the next day's news stories, which is exactly what you need, because when the establishment has gone crazy, you need some craziness to make sense of it.
Headliners. You don't have to bother reading the newspaper. We've got it covered for you. Every night at 11 p.m. and repeated every morning at 5 a.m. We won't send you to sleep like some of the other paper review shows out there.
So join us 11 p.m. every night on GB News,
the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Tired of the usual focus-tested, pre-prepared Westminster runaround? Well, so am I.
So you want higher taxes?
Is your department to blame for this? Are you rethinking this policy? Every Sunday at 9:30, I'll be sitting down with those in power to get the truth about the issues affecting you. Let's be honest, we've known about the cost pressures of this project for years, not months. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show with personality. On GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
There's only 3 people you can trust in life. Your doctor, your lawyer, and your nana.
I'm not sure.
So join me, Nana Aquare, at 3 p.m. every Saturday and Sunday, where we discuss the biggest topics of the weekend. Be ready for battle.
Could you be quiet? What is this? It's my new teeth.
It's your new teeth.
I don't bite. Well, not without a good reason. Always honest, always fun. Every weekend at 3 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. I'm Leo Kersum, still here with Cressida Wetton and Nicholas DeSanto. And let's get back to it. The Sunday Telegraph, and this kicking off in this section, apparently having millions of people coming into the country who don't bring a house with them is fueling a housing crisis. Who better to discuss this than someone forced to live in a boat, Cressida?
Wasn't forced to live. Anyway, record migration fueling Britain's rental crisis, warns Zoopla chief. And that's the amazing thing. Why is he talking about this? I don't know.
Because they're in the business of housing, so they know the figures.
I thought this was something you didn't say out loud unless you were hanging out with Leo or something.
Times are changing.
Well, maybe that's it. Maybe they are. So this comes after figures published by the ONS, the Office for National Statistics, last week showed that net migration reached a record of 745,000 people in 2022.
But that's just net migration. The gross figure was nearly 1.3 million people entering the UK, which is insane.
It's a lot of people. And Mr. Donald, this guy's pointing out that when people turn up, they tend to rent. That's the first thing they do. They rarely come and just buy their own house. The rental market is just getting squeezed. Apparently, there's only 5.5 million private rentals in this country, which doesn't sound a lot, and it's been stuck at that number for 7 years. So, there's students coming in, they're not building student accommodation. And this
so the students are then moving into the private rental market because there's not enough student accommodation. And also the government, Nicholas, keeps introducing taxes on landlords, so there's less incentive for private landlords to enter the market.
Yeah, they kind of declared war on buy-to-let and on landlords. But a few years ago, Nigel Farage was late for a TV interview, and he said that there was too much traffic because of immigrants. And everybody laughed at him for having the audacity to suggest that more people on the roads, leads to traffic. But I think we should have a balanced, view. Ultimately, a lot of immigrants means, yes, there's more pressure on the healthcare system, on school places, on the housing and on wages, especially lower skilled workers. But on the other side, we also have more Hamas supporters and risk of street riots, race riots and terrorism. So let's keep that in mind as well.
What about rich culture?
Well,
feeling rich?
People in Dublin might have a different opinion nowadays, but
yeah, we got the internet. We could get the recipes off that. So, but no, I mean, I see your point. But then, I've worked alongside Polish and Ukrainian builders and labourers who are building the houses we need. I mean, I think part of it is immigration, and part of it is just we've got everything is taxed so heavily in this country that there's no incentive for people to get out there and build something. Because if you build something and sell it or rent it out, the government's just going to come along and grab all your money.
Yeah, I mean, housing is a problem. Also, we have a big debate in this country where to build, the green belt, the brown belt. People who have new builds don't want other new builds because that would obstruct the nice landscape. So that too.
Yeah, we've got some things to sort out. Well, we've got the Telegraph again, and if you ever get arrested, try to put on an accent. Apparently the courts will go easy on you. Not a problem for you, Nicholas.
No, I can't. I've been accused of, on a good day I look Italian with a weird accent. But I can, dial up the different accents as well.
You do Scottish?
No, I wouldn't dare in front of you. But foreign criminals will serve shorter sentences than Britain's under emergency plan. This is a fascinating story and also gets a bit philosophical. Essentially, we are again short on prison spots as well, and I want to blame immigration, but it's true. Because a lot of the prison population is also composed of foreigners.
Well, 10,500 apparently are foreign nationals.
Exactly.
In the UK.
And this early removal scheme was already in place. Essentially, if you're a foreigner, before finishing your term, it used to be 12 months. Now the Justice Ministry has extended that, or wants to extend that to 18 months. You can basically release from prison and deported to your country of origin, where you wouldn't necessarily serve the rest of the term. And this is, of course, to curb the problem of prison overpopulation. Now, it is controversial. It has been criticized by the Lord's Secondary Legislation Scrutiny Committee because, one, essentially it means two people, Briton and foreigner, doing the same crime, one of them obviously is released earlier.
Yeah.
And secondly, it might work as a as an incentive for foreigners to say, okay, I might not serve the whole sentence. So these are the controversial aspects of the
and we've seen in the past some judges give more lenient sentences to foreign nationals
already
for sexual crimes because they say, well, look, this guy's come from whatever country where they don't have the same sexual morality and sexual
in your culture it's okay to sexually harass people or
it's
whatever.
Unfair to punish him according to UK law.
Unfair, brilliant. I mean, when I first read this, I thought, well, yeah, why would we want to pay? Apparently, it's £47,000 a year to keep someone in prison. That's just amazing. But anyway,
we could send them to centre parks for that.
I was thinking exactly that thought. Where could I stay for 47 grand a year? Anyway, so my first thought was, why would we want to pay for that? Send them home.
That's the argument for it. Yeah.
Right. Well, yeah. But it's. I mean, that's just not. As you say, it's not philosophically sound, and it also just doesn't work, does it? Because if you're creating a place where you're a soft touch, then somebody could decide they're going to leave anyway, and then just commit a crime and have a free ticket.
We're creating crime tourism.
Well, they will
going to come to the UK.
To be fair to the Department of Justice, they will serve their sentence up to 18 months before the release date.
Right.
And then again, considering that everybody wants to come to Britain, apparently, being deported from Britain is also punishment enough, in a way.
We're not always that good at
from a patriotic point of view.
Do you think they would get deported?
Well, as long as that's the idea. But then if it doesn't happen...
OK, well, moving on, we've got The Guardian now, and apparently diagnosing patients over a pixelated webcam isn't as reliable as real life. Who could have seen this coming, Cressida?
The doctor will call you now. Are remote GP appointments safe? And basically, yes, is what this is really saying. There's been some research. Apparently, we're now having 29% of our GP appointments, well, it says conducted remotely, so that's phone and Zoom, isn't it? I guess it depends if there's a rash you need them to see or just something to describe. And so pre-pandemic, it was 14%. So we've been doing this for a while, but now it's obviously much higher. And so there's been some research. But to be fair to them, out of hundreds of millions of appointments, there's been less than 100 that are these serious incidents. And they are very serious. It's things like a receptionist being so distracted by another patient that they forgot to ask a GP to give somebody a call back, a woman who's having breathing problems and later died. So they're very serious when it happens.
Yeah.
But overall, the article's saying it saves us a lot of money. We're not in a position
you're fine
to...
with some people dying.
Well, that's the job of NICE, isn't it? That's the whole job, the organisation who decide where do we spend the budget. You could make a case to say, overall, this might be better for us. Yeah,
possibly. And what do you think, Nicholas? Personally, I think there's a lot of things that you can't show a doctor over a webcam. I don't mean, legally you can't show it because you get arrested. I mean, the doctor, won't be able to see. In real life, you get the 3D image, you get to smell,
it does say that.
Possibly taste.
Exactly. I mean, there are a lot of good recommendations here. First, obviously, common sense should be the way to go. Some people do appreciate not having to go to the surgery, if it's especially, for example, to get the results, blood test results, especially when it's good news. On the other hand, the study says or suggests if the person is not good at communicating over the phone, or if they are babies, obviously, or if they are elderly, so they might have a wide variety of symptoms and issues, in those cases, it might be best for them to actually be visited in person.
Well, yeah, if they're an elderly baby. That's a terrible situation. We've got the Telegraph now with evidence that net zero is just an excuse for people to do net zero work. Nicholas.
Net zero can also be an excuse for councils or local governments to reduce the level of services. Labour Council to impose fortnightly bin collections to help reach net zero. I mean, I'm already living in one of those Labour councils where rubbish collection is done fortnightly. Basically, this is the Council of Lambeth in South London, and in order to encourage recycling, reduce waste, and critically to reach net zero, they are going to introduce this scheme despite the citizens of the council overwhelmingly have expressed concern over this. Mind you, they will still take your recycled rubbish weekly and also food waste weekly.
And they'll take your council tax as well.
Oh, yeah, that's
sure
for sure. They will increase that as well.
They take off.
No, never.
What if anyone's raised
But some people are concerned because yeah, there might be vermin, there might be, you know, depends what you put in which bin. And I recognize that people are encouraged to, you know, recycle more if they know that this recycled item is going to be taken weekly. But the funny thing is that they are afraid of more conflict, is the word used by the Telegraph, between neighbors, you know, filling one another's black bins.
You as a very English problem. Did it strike you that way? It sounds quite petty to me.
I mean, it just goes to show you how much, you know, the whole fabric of the society in London has
crumbling.
yeah,
this is
exactly.
the downfall of society.
Do you know what? Rubbish collection, live on a narrowboat for a while. Rubbish collection is really a gift. It really is. And we should treasure it.
You've got the canal, nature's bin.
Leo, we don't throw things in the canal.
I mean, at £250 a month council tax, I wouldn't call it a gift. Right?
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah, this reminds me of, you know, when you stay in a hotel and they say, oh, if you don't want to get your wash, if you want to help the environment, you know, you can hang your towel up again and use it again. It's like, oh, if I don't want to, this is you saving money on fresh towels. Just give me some fresh towels.
Very noble. I don't know if either of you were in Edinburgh the year they had a rubbish strike.
No.
It was like the whole city turned into a piece of Tracy Emin's art. It was extraordinary, just overflowing bins. It was really something to behold. And I don't blame these people for being concerned, but they're very concerned.
No, me neither. But let's face it. I can't believe I'm taking the side of a Labour council. But it will encourage some recycling because some people are just. I mean, we are way behind the levels of Germany or other, you know, more advanced European countries in this sector in terms of recycling. People just throw anything anywhere.
Yeah, I do. The Metro now with President Biden promising to close coal mines just like Thatcher did. I assume left-wing people are furious, Cressida.
US commits to phasing out coal power in major climate breakthrough. So it makes it sound like Biden's had this great idea and implementing this, but it kind of sounds like they were going to do it anyway, OK? So US Special Envoy John Kerry announced that Washington was joining the Powering Past Coal Alliance. That's this organisation that, well, you can guess what they do, which means the Biden administration commits to building no new coal plants and phasing out the existing plants. But then later in the article, it says coal plants have already been shut down across the nation due to economics and no new facilities were in the works. So they're retiring coal anyway. And in that kind of way that politicians do, they see something happening and say, I did that.
So if sea levels go down, they'll be like, look,
yes,
I did it.
That's
I'm
exactly.
King Midas.
Yes, that's what they'll do.
Yeah, and I mean, do you think it's time to modernise our energy supply and have nuclear instead of coal?
Well, nuclear is a tricky issue, right? Because on the one hand, it's clean and it costs very little to run it. You have the waste issue, but you know, a lot of environmentalists don't know how to feel about nuclear because obviously we have Chernobyl, we have Fukushima in the background, and you know the potential disasters and all that. On the other hand, as I said, it's clean and it gives you a lot of energy. But I mean, yes, they are shutting down coal. But next year, most likely, President Trump will be back, so the whole thing will be moot. So I'm not sure.
Good point.
Well, we're at the halfway point. Waiting for you in the next section, we have Jussie Smollett's race-baiting repercussions, men claiming they can have periods, and the latest turn of events in the Black Lives Matter saga. Geez, this could be on GB News. See you in a couple of minutes.
I think the most exciting bit for me is talking to people.
People who I think are ignored often by the major news channels. We're going to give news they want to hear. There's a voice there that needs to be heard. I think there's a chance here for a diversity of opinion to be expressed, which you don't find elsewhere. It's really exciting.
We don't hold back. We're free to say how decisions that are taken here
affect us all around the country. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
There's only 3 people you can trust in life: your doctor, your lawyer, and your nana.
I'm not sure.
So join me, Nana Aquia, at 3 p.m. every Saturday and Sunday, where we discuss the biggest topics of the weekend. Be ready for battle.
Could you be quiet?
What is this?
It's my new
It's your new
t-shirt.
t-shirt.
I don't bite. Well, not without a good reason. Always honest, always fun. Every weekend at 3 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'd much rather hear what you have to say. So, send in your opinions to gbviews@gbnews.com. Keep them clean, and you never know, I might read them out. With my panel here on Jubes & Co, we debate, we get stuck into the issues of the day on a show where all views are welcome, especially yours. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join us every night on GB News at 11 p.m. for Headliners, which is 3 top comedians going through the next day's news stories, which is exactly what you need, because when the establishment has gone crazy, you need some craziness to make sense of it.
Headliners. You don't have to bother reading the newspaper. We've got it covered for you. Every night at 11 p.m. and repeated every morning at 5 a.m. We won't send you to sleep like some of the other paper review shows out there.
So join us 11 p.m. every night on GB News,
the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Who is it? We're here for the show. Welcome to the Dinosaur Hour with me, John Cleese. I was married to a therapist.
And you survived?
I thought we were getting Hugh Laurie.
Second best.
You interviewed Saddam Hussein. What's that like?
I was terrified. I'm playing strip poker with these three.
No, thank you.
My CDs need to be put in alphabetical order.
Are you going to be problematic again?
The Dinosaur Hour. Sundays on GB News.
Welcome back to Headliners, kicking off this section with the Mail on Sunday, and Bud Light are still trying to wash a nasty taste out of their customers' mouths, and their beer only makes it worse, Nicholas.
Bud Light teams up with NFL legends Peyton Manning and Emmitt Smith in desperate bid to boost sales after Dylan Mulvaney marketing disaster sparked widespread boycott. So, you know, last time we were talking about transgender participants in beauty pageants, Miss Universe, me and you on the same Headliners show, and I put that video on my YouTube channel. It has had 41,000 hits so far, and possibly because of your turn of phrase, go bloke, go broke. So this was one of those examples of Budweiser going woke and bloke, and therefore broke. They teamed up with Dylan Mulvaney, I think, in last April, a transgender woman who has had some very nasty words about biological women, no less. And surprise, surprise, you know, didn't work out.
Yeah, and it didn't really fit with her, because Bud Light is traditionally drunk by sports bros in the sun. It's not very good beer. In fact, it's terrible beer. It's 3.5%. It's really weak. I mean, by English standards, that's tap water. That's nonsense. But, you know, they drink it in the sunshine because they get nice weather over there.
Apparently it sells, or used to sell, very, very well. It was the #1 beer at 3.5%.
At some point, their sales plummeted 30%, $400 million loss. Their chief marketing officer in the US had to resign. And who would have known? This is, as you said, the beer of the common man, long-standing relation with sports, associated with sports, American football. And the average customer, the average drinker of this beer, looks like they prefer to imagine their women as not having a penis.
Yeah, and it looks like since then Bud Light has been drastically overcompensating with adverts featuring, you know, muscular horses and regular blokes with big beards.
Peyton Manning.
No transgender women whatsoever.
It's too late. People know, don't they? And by the way, in here, it says that one of the reasons the campaign didn't work was because transphobic fans shunned the brand. I don't think that's fair, is it? To be a TERF is not to be a transphobe. You can be perfectly happy to let trans people get on with their lives and still not be...
If they got Blair White or someone to advertise it would probably work.
Very
the fact
good
is,
point.
Dylan Mulvaney just hasn't put the effort in to really look like a woman and convince anyone. In fact, the only convincing thing he does is drink Bud Light. The Express now, and kids are being taught that men can have periods. This makes me furious, but in fairness, it is my time of the month, Cressida.
It's strong, independent Scottish woman, Leah Kirst. Fury as primary schools told men can have periods. I can't believe this stuff's still happening. I thought we'd covered this. A UK period product company has attracted fury over a leaflet that tells schoolgirls that men can have periods. In information, it said, "Hey girls," that's the name of this organisation. They use the word girls there, but they don't use girls or women very often. In this leaflet, it states that not all women have periods and that some men have periods. Then they advise young girls that when they're talking, the language they ought to use is people who have periods. They should stay away from saying girls and women.
I mean, this seems ridiculous and very confusing for young girls, primary school girls.
I mean, this is not just primary school girls, but when you get to the age where you're supposed to have menstruation, obviously teenagers, boys and girls, are already feeling uncomfortable and self-conscious about their bodies. You know, the last thing you need is somebody coming and telling you, you know, pushing the same ideology that, you know, here's a quick fix. It might be strange. You're trapped in the wrong body.
It's not that I don't want people to transition. It's that when you're at that vulnerable point where everything seems complicated and difficult and you hate yourself and all that hormonal stuff, these ideas come in and say, hey, we could just take that all away. And that's why I hated that Costa Coffee advert so much, because the mastectomy scars were there and it was a surfer on a surfboard, like, hey, nothing to worry about, completely denying that would lead to a world of medical problems and God knows what.
Yeah, it's like glorifying anorexia. But then, on the other hand, I mean, there's a whole industry of, you know, you've got the pharmaceutical companies manufacturing the puberty blockers, you've got the surgeons doing the, you know, doing the gender mutilation surgery. I mean, you don't want these surgeons to buy a yacht. I mean, they've got dreams. They want to be millionaires.
Well, I hope they've got lawyers, because they're going to need those soon, aren't they? More than likely.
Yeah, well, it looks like there is a growing wave of detransitioners. We've got the Sunday Mail now, and Jussie Smollett is an actor who faked his own racist assault. He said he was attacked by guys wearing MAGA hats. They sprayed him with bleach and put a noose around his neck. Man, it just shows why actors need writers. That's like an episode of Scooby-Doo. Was he also burgled by a guy in a stripy top carrying a bag with swag written on the side, Nicholas?
This is such a funny story for a change. Exclusive by Daily Mail, Jussie Smollett is seen looking miserable in LA, obviously, as he steps out with his sisters, just hours after Chicago court slapped down his appeal over hate crime hoax, with actor now preparing to spend 150 days behind bars. So we were just talking with Chris about this. This happened in January 2022. And it was big news. Dave Chappelle, very famous American stand-up comic, has a wonderful, very funny bit about it when he simulates the conversation between Jussie Smollett and the Chicago police interrogators, who couldn't believe at 2 o'clock early in the morning in that freezing cold he was walking without taking an Uber, being attacked by people in MAGA hats.
It's the noose.
Using the language that only black people, according to Dave Chappelle, would have been used. And guess what? They were two black Nigerian brothers.
And he'd hired them to carry out this fake racist assault because he was trying to boost his own his career, trying to boost his profile. I mean, it certainly worked, but didn't really boost his career much. But it's a hugely, you know, divisive, dangerous thing to do.
It's a hideous thing. And, you know, I can be a bit of a softie, and sometimes I feel sorry for him because I think, God, you'd be so humiliated after this, wouldn't you? But he's sticking to his story. You know, I saw Dr. Phil talking about this, I think with Joe Rogan, and he said some people get into this mindset where they feel that that's typical of the way the world treats them, and then sort of convince themselves psychologically that it's fair enough to orchestrate this because it's representative of what goes on. But of course, what it's actually doing is causing massive division. So I'm afraid, Jesse, I don't have any sympathy.
OK, well, that's you condemned, Jesse. Well, we've got the Metro next. And these Black Friday brawls are getting more extreme every year, Cressida.
Derek, is it Chauvin, stabbed 22 times, a symbolic reference to Black Lives Matter. So the guy that leaned on George Floyd's neck until he was no longer with us is obviously in prison now. He was convicted of murder, and he's been stabbed in prison. This is really bizarre. It said, the article says this was done on Black Friday as a symbolic connection to the Black Lives Matter movement. I mean,
That's
What?
a bit of
That's a bit shy.
misunderstanding
I had to actually, well, I had to check because I thought, well, maybe I've got it wrong. Is there some history to Black Friday that I don't know about? No, Wikipedia says traditionally this marks the start of the Christmas shopping season. So, I mean, that's just appalling, isn't it?
I guess we shouldn't be laughing, but
no, it's
that is
awful.
very funny.
It's so stupid. I don't know what to do with that.
As if BLM was not already discredited enough for all the hate mongering and all the financial scandals, you know, siphoning off donation money to buying villas and all that. Now somebody serving jail term for being an associate of Mexican mafia has taken it upon himself to attack Derek Chauvin. So I don't think this is the last thing they needed on their reputation, the BLM.
Yeah. Okay, moving on, we've got, finally, the Sunday Mirror and police raided a Russian gay bar. I mean, that's got to be a tough thing to do without getting mistaken for strippers, Nicholas.
Russian cops raid Moscow gay bars as Putin's Supreme Court declares LGBTQ+ extremist. So, essentially, the Russian Justice Ministry has filed a lawsuit with the Russian Supreme Court, and they have sentenced or deliberated favorably, declaring the LGBTQ, all the rest of it, as an extremist organization, okay? There's so many letters in my defense mentioning them all in one breath, but you know what I mean. I wonder why. I wonder why the Russian government has declared war on LGBTQ+ movement. Have they been trying to, you know, impose their ideology upon impressionable kids and, you know, getting people fired from their jobs? Because that's not likely of them. Has that ever happened to you? Does it ring a bell?
I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not sure that's been happening in Russia. It seems like Putin is doing this to sort of rattle the cage and show his, you know, anybody who might be following him. He's got elections next year. That, you know, I stand for family values, which is all nonsense. He stands for mass immigration, the Islamification of Russia. They've got falling fertility rates. They've got the highest abortion rates in Europe. They've got the highest HIV
and an ongoing war as well, for which they need masculinity and soldiers.
And his war enables this domestic repression. The war wouldn't be continuing if it wasn't for the fact that these people around him are now making, you know, his close coterie of affiliates are now making so much money off the war, of this war economy. And the war has actually pushed up the price of oil, and it's actually been great for his criminal enterprise. So yeah, this is a bit of a sort of signal to people that, oh, I stand up for family values. This is a war against the West, and I think the West is actually hurting gay people in other countries, in Uganda, in China, and in Russia, by making LGBT values about going into schools and doing all this, because then people in Russia can say, oh, look what they're doing in the West, it's horrific, and then they've got an excuse.
And you can't fault him for that, can you?
Because, you can.
I think I beg to differ. Yeah, I can. And what's bizarre is they're still denying it. Russian authorities reject accusations of LGBT+ discrimination. So on the one hand, they're clearly discriminating. They've made it illegal to transition. I mean, we hear so much about transphobia. That's transphobic.
Yeah.
So I don't understand why they deny it. It's so obviously.
But what I was, but maybe to rephrase myself, when we see what Leo just described, like the LGBT ideology, the cancel culture, the going into schools, the transgender storytelling time for primary kids, the parades where we see the whole Regent Street has been draped in LGBTQ flags and so on, then we are giving ammunition to Putin, telling his people, look, this is the LGBT movement. So there's a difference between being gay and trying to impose that lifestyle or values or ideology onto people as impressionable as young kids.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we've got one more section to go where we have Elon Musk kicking off and Goldfish has gone wild, a rather niche VHS I used to own. See you in a couple of minutes.
Your weekend starts here with Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, 8 till 9 on GB News. Big stories, big guests and big laughs as we get you ready for a cracking weekend. That's Friday Night Live with Mark Dolan. Fridays 8 till 9 on GB News. Bring your own drinks. The admission's free.
Wake up to the headlines with Headliners every morning at 5 a.m. We treat you to the day's biggest stories before anyone else, 7 days a week. You can catch up on everything you need to know before you've even had your kippers. Headliners every morning at 5 a.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens. With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to give you accurate reporting every day. When the news breaks, we'll be there with bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Big news, big debates, big opinion. Patrick Christie's Tonight is the week's biggest show. Every weekday, 9 to 11 p.m, we've got the inside track on the day's top stories. There'll be sharp takes you won't get anywhere else. We will set the news agenda, not just follow it, and I want to bring you along for the ride. Whatever it is, we'll have our finger on the pulse. It's news, but it's this close to entertainment. Patrick Christie's Tonight, 9 to 11 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain. Join us, Tom and Emily,
To find out what's happening in the heart of Westminster.
and why it matters to you.
Weekdays from midday, we bring you the most compelling stories from across the United Kingdom.
And from your doorstep to our inbox.
That's right, we want to hear from you.
GB News,
Britain's news channel.
GB News, unlike other broadcasters, isn't obsessed with the London-Westminster bubble. We think there's a nation beyond the M25, and that's why we talk about the issues that matter across the land. Join me on State of the Nation, 8 to 9 o'clock, Monday to Thursday, on GB News. Daisy's listening, and you should too.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my two comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Tired of the usual focus-tested, pre-prepared Westminster runaround? Well, so am I.
So you want higher taxes?
Is your department to blame for this? Are you rethinking this policy? Every Sunday at 9:30, I'll be sitting down with those in power to get the truth about the issues affecting you.
Let's be honest, we've known about the cost pressures of this project for years, not months.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show with personality. On GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the final section of Headliners. We jump straight back into it with the Mail on Sunday, and after Elon Musk told advertisers to go F themselves, it looks like Walmart have done just that, Cressida.
They got the message, Elon. Walmart is latest big company to boycott X amid hate speech fears, just days after Tesla boss told advertisers to go F yourselves. So, yeah, someone else has bailed on him. And this is just a few days after his expletive-ridden rant. So it was directed at Disney CEO Bob Iger.
Yeah.
Specifically, but also I think just in general, it was like just sounding off. So this is after he liked the tweet. Is he anti-Semitic? Isn't he? No, he isn't. So when he was ranting against the CEO of Disney, he was kind of implying like, oh, you think you can threaten me with loss of income? But I don't know how much loss of income. At what point is it too much? Because if everybody abandons him, that's no good, is it?
Yeah, although, I mean, even though Twitter is a multi-billion-dollar takeover, he is the richest man in the world. You know, SpaceX is valued at 150 billion. Tesla's valued at, you know, an insane valuation as well. So, I mean, he's so rich, he can just buy Twitter and do what he wants with it, and he doesn't actually need any advertisers. But I think it's unfair for advertisers to pull out, because it's like they're saying to that population, that segment of the population, you're not valid. And I'm not talking about you know, racists or anti-Semites or whatever. I mean, if you ask me, they're all on Facebook and Instagram. We've seen enough of the, you know, from the river to the sea chants. I think it's ridiculous, and we've seen. Prior to Elon Musk's takeover, there was plenty of anti-white hate permitted on the platform, Nicholas.
Absolutely. Let's call this what it is. This is cancel culture. If you're an individual, they try to get you fired. And if you're a corporation, just like GB News has experienced before, they try to remove advertising revenue from you, and that's their chokehold on you. So let's see what it is. These globalists or corporations often on the left side of the politics, they never digested the fact that Elon Musk took over Twitter and turned it into a free speech platform. Okay, this was not what they had in their plans, and they are still, throwing tantrums like this. And earlier we had, content providers like Apple TV, like Disney, like Paramount. Let's not forget that these are competitors of Twitter. Yeah. Okay, because they produce content, and of course, Twitter at the moment, or X, I should say, at the moment does not provide or does not produce movies. But all of them are competing for us, the consumers' time. Yeah. Okay, and the whole excuse that this is anti-Semitic. By the way, ADL uses anti-Semitism as a guise to go after, as a mask to go after free speech. And no less that Ben Shapiro, prominent American Orthodox Jew, has had issues and criticisms for ADL.
And some of the other organisations like Media Matters have been accused. Elon Musk has got a lawsuit going after them because they've been concocting examples of anti-Semitism to make Twitter look bad, according to him. And it does seem to be the leftist establishment trying to grab onto the Daily Star Sunday. Sorry, I had somebody in my ear. Onto the Daily Star Sunday, and America has a huge problem with illegal aliens. We're not talking about people coming over the border. These ones are goldfish, Nicholas.
Problematic feral goldfish may be dealt with in North America as huge pests can be eaten. Now, goldfish is, the most docile or placid of house pets. They're very important in some cultures, in the Iranian households or people of the old Persian culture area. They are an indispensable part of the New Year celebrations. You keep them in your house. And they are, synonymous with wealth and good luck and all that. And of course, people...
That's so lovely. Here we just win them at a fairground if we're having a working class night out. You win one in a bag and hopefully it gets home safely. I like your version better.
Yeah, but it is part and parcel of the New Year celebrations, and every household has one. And of course, people with their heart in the right place, they want to release them into the wild if they survive the holiday festivity period. But the problem is that then they go feral, apparently. They eat all the... Yeah.
So we need to eat them. Well, the show is nearly over, so let's take another quick look at Sunday's front pages. The Mail on Sunday leads with, "Now Harry is excluded from Society Wedding of the Year." The Sunday Times has Rwanda's extra £15 million to seal migration deal. The Observer has Israel using Hamas prisoners to track down terror chiefs. The Sunday Express has Charles, "I'll never give up on Harry." The Sunday Mirror has Royals unite on race row. And the Daily Star on Sunday has the Polar Express. And that's all we have time for. Thank you to my guests, Cressida and Nicholas. And we're back tomorrow at 11 p.m. Good night.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, welcome to your latest GB News weather. I'm Ellie Glazier. It was a very cold and frosty start for many of us this morning, and there's been quite a few wintry showers across western coasts. These are brought about by some occlusion features across parts of western Scotland, northwest England, into Wales and southwest England too. Quite a bit of snowfall across parts of northwest England with an amber snow warning in place. Some roads becoming impassable this afternoon, but that snow will gradually start to ease into this evening. Elsewhere though, further south, those showers continue to push in from the west, turning to snow across parts of Wales and the Pennines as well, where we could see up to 10 centimetres through Sunday morning. Another chilly night across the UK, but perhaps just a touch milder across the very far south. So a milder start across the south, but a much cloudier and showery picture too. Showers continue to push in from the west, and with those cold temperatures perhaps bringing some icy stretches through Sunday morning. For Scotland though, it'll be a much drier and brighter day. Plenty of sunshine and blue sky around into the afternoon, but still feeling cool and cold despite that sunshine, -1 in some places. Further south, a milder picture, but a little bit windier too, with winds coming up from the southwest. Monday starts a wet picture for many, with hill snow across parts of Wales into the south of the Pennines as well, but that will eventually clear its way south and eastwards as we go through the day on Monday. Further north across Scotland, northern England, a drier picture, plenty of sunshine around, but that rain and cloud slowly clearing its way south and eastwards through Monday, leaving a drier and brighter but colder day for many on Tuesday and Wednesday.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
We're here for the show. Welcome to the Dinosaur Hour with me, John Cleese. I was married to a therapist.
And you survived?
I thought we were getting Hugh Laurie.
Second best.
You interviewed Saddam Hussein. What's that like?
I was terrified. I'm playing strip poker with these three.
No, thank you.
My CDs need to be put in alphabetical order.
Are you going to be problematic again?
The Dinosaur Hour. Sundays on GB News.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain. Join us, Tom and Emily,
To find out what's happening in the heart of Westminster.
and why it matters to you.
Weekdays from midday, we bring you the most compelling stories from across the United Kingdom.
And from your doorstep to our inbox,
That's right, we want to hear from you.
GB News.
Britain's news channel.